everyone. I'm excited to be here today. Today is another Monday. Guess what? Making a difference every day with Sandra Oko. I'm excited to have you tonight. And before I go into the show, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Sandra, as Elias said. I'm a speaker, coach, trainer. I'm a member of the Toastmaster as the Vice President of Public Relations. I'm also an area director. I'm also an IT salesperson of over 20 years, a best-selling author, and just recently got gifted the Presidential Lifetime Award. And what is making a difference? You know, some people might be saying, I've not heard that word, or what is it all about? It is about that everyone that God created has something unique in them that makes them unique. We are not the same. Even when you have two people of the same parent, identical twins, do not have anything in common. They might have one or two things in common, but they're not exactly the same replica. There's always a uniqueness in them, something that differentiates them from the other person. And so today I have a great guest with me. His name is Tommi. But before I bring Tommi, what have you been up to? That God ever since you, how did you, can you tell us to share your story with us? Gifts and different skills that makes us what informs your decision, the peculiar person, of doing a video testimonial while you're doing there is no one that God has created that has nothing in them. So it is left for us to harness the gifts in us and to also develop the gift in us. And it is said that, you know, for you to get comfortable in life, you have to get uncomfortable now to get comfortable. That means you have to pay it now to play later. So whatever it takes to make a difference now in our world and in our times, that's what we're trying to do to make the world a better place. If I make a difference in my world, Tommi is making a difference in his world, and we all together making a difference in our world, the world itself will be a better place to stay. And so the next person you get to see is my guest. He's no other person than Tommi MURSHED-PARISH. He's going to be introducing himself and telling us what he's been up to in his world. So over to you, sir.
Nice to meet you, Sandra, and thank you for having me on. I'm Tommi MURSHED-PARISH. I'm a video testimonials and introduction video expert based on Gozo Island in Malta. I help people win over their best prospects in under 2 minutes or less using video testimonials that have been filmed remotely over Zoom, and then teaching people how to use those video testimonials and introduction videos to get more of the clients that they want.
Wow, awesome. That's a great one. So you tell us, okay, what led you to doing this? What was your passion? How did you come about it?
It was more of an accident of trying to survive. So when I was 4 years old, my parents noticed that I said very little for a child, and they had us checked out by doctors for a few days. And the doctors came back and said, the kid's fine. He's physically no problem with him at all. And we thought that was it. But it turned out later on that I had Asperger's syndrome. So my social skills were far behind everybody else's. I couldn't read people. I couldn't understand what they were saying. I couldn't understand that they were laughing at me behind my back sometimes, you know, high school and growing up. I didn't even know they were, you know, at times. And I used to get bullied a lot and kicked around. And when I was in my mid-20s and I was quite isolated and overweight, somebody said to me that I never looked them in the eye. And they said, if I wasn't, if I didn't know you already, that would be kind of weird and off-putting. So I became obsessed with reading faces, body language, you know, voice tonality, what people were not saying more than what they were saying, and how, you know, more to do with how they said it rather than just what they said. I was obsessed with film. I still am. And I went to every networking event related to the micro-budget film sector. I went to the Cannes Film Festival every year before COVID. For about 6 or 7 years, I went to the Cannes Film Festival every year before COVID. And I would, until 4 a.m, network until I could barely walk. And then I would walk home for about an hour to my cheap apartment over there. But I used that chance to practice my small talk and get people to hang around and talk to me for longer rather than leave. And I found out, maybe obviously to some, the trick to that is getting people to open up, putting the spotlight on themselves, making them feel safe enough that they can tell their story and they want to hang around and share what they know because of that.
Awesome. That's a great one. And how's it been? How's the journey been?
Well, from there, I once I could get people to open up and talk, I thought that would be it. It was just a life skill. But then I ended up being a film school graduate in the business world, making videos for small business owners. And when I was making videos for social media and whatnot, I was on a job with a client who was also filming somebody I knew who was a friend. And we were filming, social media content for him because he was actually a social media expert. So I was filming the social media expert at work. And at some point, it was a bit difficult because he wanted to present on camera, but he wanted to write his own lines at the last minute. So this was not going very well because to remember lines and be comfortable on camera very quickly is a really hard skill. Most actors cannot do it. They have to practice their lines. So I was getting really annoyed because we'd already agreed the amount of money. I was traveling up and down the country to come and meet him. And I was thinking, this job's not going really well. I'm not getting the result I want for him. And we met his client who sold water coolers. And we were chatting together, all three of us, me, the social media expert, and the water cooler supplier. And at some point, over a cup of tea, I had the camera next to me. I asked this guy, because we were between friends. We could make fun of each other a little bit or ask questions that normally you couldn't ask. And I said to him, why did you work with him, the social media guy? And he strokes his chin like Ming the Merciless. And he says, well, I didn't want to use him at first because I wanted to do all the social media, me. But after a while, I couldn't do it because I'm looking after 10 vans. So I had to let him take over or at least have a trial. And after a short amount of time, the way he spoke on the internet sounded like my tone of voice. And I liked that. And I had hit the record button, not thinking it would be useful, but just because I had a habit of doing that when anything remotely interesting was happening. I forgot about it. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. Tommy, where's this video of him saying great things about me? And I said, oh, I got rid of it. Who needs that? We were there filming social media content. Suddenly he gets stressed out. Tommy, what have you done? How could you do that to me? And I panicked. And after going through the last, cupboards of my hard drives, I eventually found the video. I gave it to him. He put it on the internet straight away. And that he cared about more than the video he paid me a decent amount of money for. And the light bulb went off in my head. So I went to talk to friends in business and I said, look, I think there's a business in this. Can we try it out for free? Don't worry, don't worry, you don't have to pay me. I will just film your clients and see if that looks good for you. Just as a practice. I want to see if there's a business in this. I went around and filmed this accountant's clients. And by the end of it, they were so happy, they insisted on giving me some money. And I said no, I think. I can't remember. And then they insisted I take it anyway. So obviously I had a business. Then I went to BNI High Flyers, which was a local networking group. And I kept going back and going back. And before long, I realized that if I joined this group and told them that I filmed people's clients, then for them, maybe I would have a business. And that was 6 years ago. And it's grown from there.
Oh, awesome. Can you see how a passion can turn to a money-making venture? Oh my God, that's an awesome story. Very great story to hear. And, because you have people who have passion and they're probably saying, can this passion bring me money? Can it take care of me? But beyond that, you've shown that, you have to reach out. Networking is key. Like I tell anybody, I said, relationship are the ships you ride on to destiny. You need people to ride on their shoulders to get to where you want to be. If you never join that networking group and probably share, you probably would have the skill and just be doing it as an hobby to other people. Because if you don't 100%. Make money from your hobbies or your passion, it's a non-for-profit.
You could not have said it better. If I'd have not gone networking, nobody would have given me a chance when I had a business with no money. And that's the truth. Nobody. So
life is all about risk then. That's it. If you didn't risk it to go out to meet with people, you didn't reach out to people, there was no way you would have a business. It would have only lied as a passion or an hobby to you.
Yeah,
So that's
and I
awesome.
would have been making cold calls for the rest of my life and
Yes.
getting nowhere.
Oh no, that's true. And that's why I tell people, I said relationships they are the ships that will ride on to destiny. Meaning that one good person can refer you to several other people. And from several other people, you can make ends meet. You can get connected to the right source of people. Because I tell people you could have the right business. If you don't know how to get the business in the front of the people who need the business, then it's no business. Then it could as well be being as a, you don't have anything you're selling. Because if you have a good product and nobody knows about what you do, then there's no way money will come in. Did you ever, in a time in your life, have it so difficult that you thought maybe that's not what you're meant to do? Like you thought of leaving it and moving on to something greater?
1 second. Sorry, it was getting windy and my camera was shaking all the time. I already had that moment. I used to have a photography business. I used to photograph actors only in daylight, and I got really good at it. And eventually I didn't have the contacts, I didn't have the name, and it fell into the ground. And at the time, video was kind of growing anyway on the side. So I'd already had the pain of one business not working out and the humiliation of trying to beg people to give me a very small amount of money to do a lot of work, and then turning around and saying, we don't need it, or messing me around, or not turning up to appointments and not, getting a deposit out of it. And I'd already been through that frustration, and I wasn't going to have it a second time. I'd learned a few lessons along the way, how to look after people, how to make sure appointments were kept. But also, you were talking about networking, bringing referrals. It also helps me learn how to run a business properly. And I think sometimes we get focused on the income side of it, immediate income, and we don't appreciate what we might learn, or the small problems that people might bring to us to solve, and how that teaches us something that helps us build a really good business. So to answer your question, as I said, I kind of learned my frustrations in a previous business, and I made sure not to repeat them the second time around, or at least as few of them as possible.
That's awesome. That's once beaten, twice shy. So you're getting, you've learned from the other one, but that was a good one that at least you ventured. What about if you didn't try it out?
I have Asperger's, so that wasn't a good, let me rephrase that. Being on the spectrum, it's not easy to work in the corporate world. It's not easy to work for a lot of big companies because they're interested in pretty much profit, at least at the shareholder end. The managers might be a little bit more caring, but the pressures are huge. So you're meant to fit in their round hole. And if you're square, that's not going to work out. And most people I know on the spectrum often ended up in business because it would have been pretty nasty, to be honest, in many respects, had they stayed in corporate. It just wouldn't have worked out. Years ago, I went back to my former employer that was a call center, and I needed to, for tax reasons, check my last pay slip and a few other documents. And I accidentally found the document that was signed off when I left in private, and it said, do not rehire. It was not a really good environment. Bells and whistles going off, phones ringing all the time. And I worked really well in a quiet room, even if I was on the phone. But because they like to supervise everybody, they didn't want anything to do with it. And they said to me, after I told them that I could work better in that environment, they said, you're in the wrong job then. Corporate has not got room for people of neurodiverse nature. So it wasn't really the place to be for me. And I knew that if I didn't make something of myself in the solo business owners world, or the entrepreneurs world, sorry, I knew that if I didn't make something up, I knew that if I didn't make something of myself in the entrepreneurs world, then I'd end up in corporate, and that really would have killed me.
Oh, that's but that even with entrepreneurship, it's a platform for you to build in a great business. But a lot of times people are afraid to take that risk to even starting one, because one, you have a freedom of your time. One, you're able to grow personal development. When you're doing your own stuff, you want to learn more, you want to get a coach, you want to get a mentor, a sponsor to help you. But you found out that even when you work for people, you work a 9-to-5 job, you probably are not even developing yourself. You're just going there to clock in and clock out. But when you're doing your own business, you're trying every means to grow the business. So strategically, you're building your mind. You're able to take risk. You're able to, manage a business, see it grow from nothing to something.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. I had to make it work. I had a great answer to that, and it's just flown out of my head like the birds out of the nest. Yeah, to be honest, I'm probably one of the few. I'm probably one of the few business people that didn't get into it for money. Probably at most time freedom, because I was obsessed with film. I still am, and I just wanted time to go do filmmaking. So that's how I got into photography, because I was quite good at photographing actors, and I built that business up to give me time. But struggling to make that business run took over my life, and I was often doing shifts, as a security person at music events, traveling up and down and not getting a lot of pay for it after expenses. So it ended up taking over my life, and a lot of people who build businesses to get their time back end up losing their time. And in my case, money was a means, it was never the end. A lot of people use the word billionaire and they get hypnotized, by I could have billions and I could have all this, right? I live really comfortably, relatively. I'm really lucky. I live in a place which doesn't cost a lot to live on, relatively. I live on a place which doesn't cost a lot to live in.
What country are you? What country are you presently?
So I'm on Malta. So I'm in Malta, but I'm on Gozo Island, which is the cheaper of the two islands to be on. And, the cost of living rent-wise is not really that high. It's cheaper than most parts of England, but we have a really good quality of life. So in terms of growing a business to success, yeah, I want to do that because I like helping people and I like to be paid what I'm worth. At the same time, most of the material stuff that people get hypnotized by, the trappings, shall we say, I'm not really that bothered. I just want to make sure I'm secure for what comes around. The world is never necessarily going to stay in the same position.
Not
so
at
I like
all.
to get ahead of things. I like to get a house without debt, whilst the chance is still there, and serve people and enjoy it, and be on good terms with the people I work with. And I know that through solving their problems and being obsessed with solving their problems, that I will get better at business as each day goes, and the money will come as it does.
Awesome. What you just said is true, because as you get obsessed in helping other people, you get your own problem solved. So we have to look beyond ourselves, and we must be ready to serve the people, not because of money. Because a lot of times people think money is everything, And I tell people, I said, money will come and go, but people will remain. So if you have the right people around you, you can make money. You can be connected, you can network and beyond that, we are meant to serve. And it is in serving others that we get our own needs met, and we are also impacting the world by serving others, because our focus this time around is not about money. So it's so good to hear from you and hear your story. It's awesome. And before we call it a day, because I know it's so inspiring to me that you don't have to look out for money first in going to a business. Yes, we want to make business. You want to make money. But beyond that, why serving others and they are satisfied and happy with your service, they can refer you to others. They can reach out to you and they can be your mouthpiece. So before we call it a day, Tommi, what word would you give to the young youths coming behind? What's your story? How should they start up with life? Some are already like, how do I start up? Where do I work? What would be your advice before we call it a day?
Can I just add one thing to what I said earlier before I answer that question?
Good.
I want to make it really clear that money does matter. Or let me phrase it. I want to make it really clear that knowing your worth does matter, because you can serve until you drop. But I've found out that, if you serve and don't ask your worth and don't get it, you will burn yourself out and you will not be able to do what you do for too long. There will always be somebody cheaper. So it's important to ask our worth. Otherwise, you know, we will end up exhausting ourselves and not being able to serve. So, you know, don't get me wrong. I care about having a good life. I care about serving my clients, but I do think it's important to be paid what we're worth. Otherwise, we won't last very long doing it.
True.
And, you know, in terms of what would I say for anybody else coming behind? I've learned this the hard way when I was a photographer, and I didn't do a very good job of it. Look after your clients. And I don't just mean go above and beyond. Show that you care outside of supplying what you do. You know,
Your service is good.
Even if your service is the best in the business, the thing that will keep people coming back, as well as the result, is how you care about them. So little things matter. Postcards, emails with news articles relevant to their world. How are you calls? The little things, you know, even a suitable gift every now and then, you know, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be appropriate. But just making people feel like you care goes back to that almost cliche Maya Angelou quote: that won't care what you did, they won't care what you said, they'll care about how you make them out. They won't
How
care
you
what
make them
did.
feel.
Exactly, right. Yeah, they
Yes,
won't care
people-
what you did, won't care what you said, they'll care about how you make them feel. I actually would slightly disagree with that, in the sense that in the business world, people do care about the result. It matters. You can't be incompetent. But beyond that, they do care about how you made them feel after the result is earned. And if you maintain those relationships, the doors keep opening and you don't have to keep chasing business. It starts coming to you.
Awesome. You just said it all. Relationship is key. Never burn bridges, but build bridges. And you know, there's a saying that says, people don't care how much you know until they care, until they see how much you care. People will do business with those they like, love, and trust. So people want to see how you make them feel. And that's why I tell people in the business world, do not be transactional.
Can I add something to that? You
Yeah.
made a really good point about burning bridges. So as I said, I used to do photography for actors, and I used to do it occasionally on a set of a film, you know, low budget, really low budget. And you used to meet people in that world who didn't understand how bad it was to burn a bridge. They would make a big drama. They'd not come from a business background, even though they were actors, filmmakers, or whatnot, and they didn't see themselves as a business. So they would go around setting fire to bridge after bridge after bridge. And eventually, there were no more bridges left, and nobody wanted anything to do with them. And they just fell into a job that they didn't like because they weren't prepared for the world and they didn't know how to respect people. And in the business world, you can't do that. You've got to be looking after bridges, not setting them on fire.
Awesome. What you just said really, really rings about. In the business world, we do not have to be transactional. We need to, as much as we sell, take care of your customer. Find out how the product or services you provided is serving them. Find out how you can support them. Find out if they have any technical or any question they want to ask. By so doing, your customers would remain with you. They become a brand, you know, they become loyal to you. They will be the one to go up and about to let the world know what your services are. And like you rightly said, the doors will keep opening and opening and opening. You wouldn't have to, even if though you have to chase and look for business, it wouldn't be like stressful because you're already having the referrals. People are giving you good testimonial. People are dropping messages and people are telling the world what your services looks like. And that people would be able to reach out to you. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And that's a great way to end this video. Do not be transactional. Care about your customers. Be there for them. And they would tell the world about your service. Thank you. You have a blessed evening. Bye, everyone. Thank you. I also thank our guests.
As a guest.
Yes, I want to thank our viewers. Thank you for being on this show. You're the reason why we come here every Monday to, you know, to discuss, to share our ideas, to share our story. And so I'm excited to have you. And if this is your first time on being on this channel, please kindly like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please share it. It's not a leader is one who knows it and shares it with the world. So please help share this video. It can be an impact to somebody out there who wants to start a film industry, who want to go into videography, who want to go to testimonial, who want to also be, do all the things, but are afraid to take that first step. Just like Tommi did, they can learn from Tommi's story. And if they want to get connected to Tommi, to be an influencer, to be a mentor to them or a coach, they can often reach out to me at Sandra Uko on any of my social media platform. I also want to thank our guests. Thank you, sir, for making that time out of your busy schedule to share your story with us and to share your story with the world. Thank you so much, Tommi. To have a blessed evening. Bye, everyone. You wait. If you've made it this far into this video, thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe so you can support your girl. Thank you.